everyone, it's Julianne Meyer, the host of Own Your Wellness, and I'm back again. Happy Monday. Woohoo! I'm excited because I have a very special guest today, and her name is Siri Johnson, and I love this woman. I gotta tell you, she is so much fun. She's such positivity and love and joy, all wrapped up into a human. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her in and let's chat. Hey. Oops, hold on a second. I accidentally have you on mute. Sorry about that.
Oh, yay. I was just loving positivity wrapped up in a human.
Who's your
it made
friend?
me so happy. This is Killian. He will be here as your other interviewee, and he likes to visit quite a bit.
I love that. I love it when guests have their pets because I'm a huge animal enthusiast. And so, of course, I always appreciate when people bring their four-legged baby.
Yes, there are two other fur babies, but they don't like to visit me when I'm on the computer. So, hurrah!
So I had the honor and the privilege of speaking to you. So I know a little bit about your story, but I would love for you to share with the audience about who you are and a little bit about your own wellness journey.
My own wellness journey. Well, I was thinking on this, and my background is as a professional actor and mostly musical theater. And when I was thinking back, something happened, and I actually pinpointed the story, and I'll talk about that later if either of us remember. That somewhere in like that 10, 11-year-old range, I made a decision somewhere. Oh, I'm fat. Like I made that decision, and it took years and decades to dig myself out of the hole that I dug for myself unintentionally. I didn't know it was such a big hole, but boy, I spent a lot of drama and tears and woe and just a big pile of horse crap, if you will, just with that image and with that message in my head. And being a teenager of the 80s, it was all of it's sugar free. So I was like, right, chow down. But I didn't really understand food. I didn't understand nutrition. And so as time went on, I spent much of my teens and 20s, and 30s was when I really started to work on my personal growth and realize I didn't want to spend the rest of my life just having that image in my mind. So I just learned more about myself as time went on. And for anybody that is out there or that knows, theater, anything having to do with show business in general is a very fickle world. And that who I am and what I look like felt to me like who I was and my image. And lucky for me, I was a character actor, so it didn't really matter what my size was. I was going to show up and be funny, and it was going to be perfect, whatever that was. But it took me a lot of years. And so it was like my 30s, I kind of got a little bit more hang of it. I was like, yay, I'm in my 40s. And then somewhere in my late 40s, I was finding that it's not that I was disliking my theater career. It was that I was like, okay, this is great. I've succeeded in this, but I think there's something more that I want to do in my life. And I decided, you know what, if I can work with anybody and help them to not shed all the tears that I did and to come to a place of empowerment at a more rapid pace than the decades that it took me, then I am doing a service. And that's kind of how I came into it. And I came through the health coaching door because at the time I had I didn't really understand the life coach thing. I had a little bit of a negative connotation from a past experience. And so I worked that all out. And then I just started piling things in and working with clients and adding in life coaching and some NLP. And it's, as you know, or as I like to think, life and growth and our journey is ongoing. I'm a growth-minded person. And so I'm always working on things and tweaking the system and okay, that feels great, but how can I feel just a little bit better? But I always thought it was like, oh, when I was going to be this weight, then I'd be happy. And I knew that wasn't true, because then I would get to that weight and be like, oh, all the same stuff is still there. So I had to learn the art of working with uncomfortable, yucky, crunchy emotions. And lucky for me, I've always loved smiley faces. And so it was like my anchor point to know, I'm like, that's what I believe is the truth. for me, most of the time, and maybe, I don't know, you've maybe anchored onto joy, that that's your word, but happy and smiling. It was where I wanted to be, but had to teach myself how to get there. And so there's a lot more in there, but that's kind of the nutshell version.
I love that. The thing that's interesting to me is how I ended up getting into health coaching too, is, because that was my door in as well. And then when I got there, I realized, oh, it's really not about, the food so much. Like, that's okay. Now I'm here. I'm like, huh, okay. It doesn't matter how much broccoli and spinach you eat if you're in an unhealthy relationship, a job you hate, and you think that you got like this low self-esteem or image of yourself. I don't care. You're just not going to be healthy. So I think that's where you and I really connect, is on that level, because I hear you. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about how, you said that you were like 10 or 11 when you made that decision. I don't remember exactly when mine was, but it was roughly that same age. And I just find that very fascinating, because I know that I wasn't, now I know for sure that I was by no means overweight. I was a skinny little girl, and yet I thought I had these huge thighs. So
Yeah.
it's so bizarre. But I would love for you to explain how you came into that, and then like how you realized, man, I've been holding on to this image of myself since I was a child. Maybe I don't have to hold on to that anymore.
Maybe it's time for an upgrade.
Right?
Yeah, I was thinking, I started writing a book when I was 30. I have yet to finish it. So apparently there's still more work to be done, or just time management to actually finish a book. And I said in there that I thought it was it wasn't my mother. It wasn't media. It was just this thing that I decided. And then when we made this appointment, I was like, own your wellness. And when did that start? Your mind just wanders. And I told a story, but I realized that story might have been the starting point. I went to gymnastics camp because I liked the floor exercise, and I enjoyed it. It was exercise. It was a fun self-expression, and I don't know which exercise I was doing, probably like uneven bars. And I remember the woman saying, "You're too fat for this sport." And I think that was the first time I'm like, "Oh, what? I'm too fat for something?" And like you said, I wasn't fat. I might have had a little bit more muscle on me and wore the husky jeans, there in the 70s, but I wasn't. And I wasn't going to become an Olympic athlete. I just wanted to enjoy gymnastics. And it never occurred to me that being, quote, determined as a particular size could determine what I was and wasn't going to be able to do in life. And so I was like, oh, well, if that's true here, maybe it's true other ways. Maybe I'm too fat to do that, or too fat for boys to like me, or too fat for basically everything. And then that just played out again and again and again and again and again. And somewhere after that, when I was starting to stress out, and I switched from the chocolate milk to the white milk, thinking, oh, that's going to be a better choice. And my mother she's like, well, I'll pay for you to go to a dietitian, because, I was struggling. I was trying to talk about it, and I was having a root beer float every night, which was delicious, mind you. But the dietitian said, which do you want more? Do you want to be thin, or do you want that second piece of lasagna? And I was like, I want the second piece of lasagna. Like, that is not a question. And so it was those kinds of conversations. But I think that was the first point, that it was brought into my mind from an external source, and then I internalized it and took it on as basically my identity. And it wasn't until somebody in my 20s said to me when we were dating, he says, when are you going to stop seeing yourself as that fat 13-year-old? You're not that. You're a beautiful woman. And I was like, oh, really?
Yeah. My boyfriend always says to me, I wish you could see yourself the way I see you. And I was like, yeah, you know what? So do I. Not that I have like a super low self-esteem or anything like that, but I know what he means. And the way that he sees me is like the glowing woman that I am. And I still like look at, all the things that I consider imperfections.
Yeah.
And I know that it is, and I know that it's crazy, but yet I still, it's something that I can see. I recognize it, and I don't own it, but it still comes up. So it's kind of interesting, but maybe I'll get there some point. I'm just going to try and do my best. What do you notice that I notice with my clients that a lot of them have these issues. It doesn't matter. Like they could be in their 40s or 50s or 60s and they're still holding on to something from when they were a child that that is hindering them living in their present now and loving themselves for who they are. What do you run into with clients?
I think that, well, first of all, the type of client that I love the best are the people that are growth minded, and no matter where they are in their age range, they're realizing that they are on a journey to become a more true version of themselves. And they just have programs that play. And so they will talk about things. And I'm working with somebody right now. She's in her early 70s. And I used to babysit for her children. And I was like, well, this is a unique thing. But we're able to talk. And she said, when you told me it wasn't about the food, I was like, Siri, that's not true. And she's like, but it isn't. And I was like, yeah. And so we're talking about all those emotions that come up and all the relationships with food and the programs that are playing over and over and over again. So no matter what your age range is, and my mother lives in a like a senior cooperative, and I've seen it, all those junior high issues, they just come out in a different arena. It doesn't matter if everyone's in their 80s and 90s. People are still behaving the same way if they haven't watched themselves and their own patterns and behaviors and brought awareness to whatever area of their life may have been working or may not.
I love that. And you're right, though, because people who do come to you are growth minded. Otherwise, they wouldn't be attracted to you. They wouldn't be asking for help or that sort of thing. Do you think that personally, I run into a lot of people getting stuck on certain diet fads or like, if I could do this, then all of a sudden same thing. All my problems will go away if I just try this. And then 9 times out of 10, they don't even stay with it, whatever they have chosen. What would you say to somebody like that?
I have found with the variety of people that I've worked with that eventually it clicks. Maybe it's while we're working together. Maybe it's after the fact when they get back to me and they're like, you know what? I really thought it was X, Y, and Z, but I realized it's the whole alphabet. This is a lifestyle that I'm not going to get what I want from this one way of eating. Like the way that you eat is your diet. It's not a diet, but that it needs to be a lifestyle shift. And if I had to figure that out for myself, if I wasn't willing to make the lifestyle shift, I was going to be up and down the roller coaster all the time. And so it's when people go, oh, I can figure out a way for this way of being and thinking and eating to be sustainable, to feel my best. Yes, okay, I want that particular number on the scale, or I want this particular size of pants, but they want to feel happy in life, whatever it is, whatever their size, whatever their way of eating is, so that they feel good and they figure out, oh, now I have the energy to do all the things that I want to do in life. And that's the reason to eat healthy as far as I'm concerned. Because if you don't have any energy, well, you can't do anything.
Exactly. And there's the thing too, like I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I did a candida cleanse, and thank goodness I did it because first of all, it was brutal. So I don't recommend it to just anybody. I did mine supervised, but wow, what a difference it was when I finally got all that sugar out of my system and my body rebalanced, and it was like, I had to go through those withdrawals. It was brutal, but I did it, and it made such a huge difference because now I'm not sitting there. I don't crave candy. I don't crave, baked goods like I used to, things like that. But it's not always easy. So how do you help your clients get over the hump? Because there's always a hump when you're trying to change something. And before it becomes, it's like learning to drive, like in the very beginning, you have to have your both hands on the steering wheel, looking at the mirrors and stuff like that. And then after a while, it becomes easier and more natural. But whenever anybody makes a lifestyle change, there's that like beginning that sometimes people can't get over.
And that's exactly what I share with them. in sort of the same terminology, is that when we're doing something new that we've never done before, it's going to feel robotic, kind of pushed, like, oh, this feels like uncomfortable, like new pair of shoes that are kind of scraping and I don't like them. These don't even look good on me. And that, like anything that we're new at, it's going to take practice. And you need to practice it and have that repetition over and over and over and over. And sometimes it's like every 10 minutes, like, oh yeah, that's who I'm becoming. Oh yeah, oh that's my new relationship. But until it becomes a thing of habit, which we can't do until we do again and again, it's going to remain hard. Like, learning the ukulele, I had to get some calluses, but they were really ouchy and super uncomfortable for a while. And I like to be perfect at things right away, and I'm not. And I don't like it. It's not my favorite. It's like in theater land, I do not like the rehearsal part. It's like my least favorite part of the process because people have to watch me suffer. Well, I call it suffer because it feels uncomfortable to me, and I want to be good right away, but I'm not because I haven't had any practice. I haven't had any rehearsal. And so it's just reminding people that it's okay to be new at something, and that if shifts are going to come, every once in a while we're like, oh my gosh, I'm amazing at this right away. But most of the time it takes a little bit more effort, work, and attention than that.
Well said. It's true. And it's like that with anything. I don't know when we decided that I'm the same way. Like, I want to be perfect from the very beginning. And heaven forbid I should actually have to learn how to do something like a normal person. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that. I've heard this analogy from so many different people, and it's really obvious, but it's like, you never look at a little baby and say, you fell down again. Why don't you just give up? Like, you're no good at walking.
Yeah, and they're like, oh shoot, I'm done walking. This was a failure.
Yep,
You're right.
nope, I'm gonna crawl for the rest of my life. I don't know when we pick that up, but wouldn't it be so much more fun to not have that sort of limitation? And it's like it's a choice, I guess, that we can reframe things. I don't know. I'm not the best at it yet, but I've definitely gotten better. So I know it's possible. So there's something that I always love to ask. This is a little off topic from where we were going, but I always love to ask my guests, the ones that I feel like a connection with, especially, is that what is it that you do on a regular basis, either daily or, just your non-negotiables, maybe they're rituals to you, just to keep your cup full and your smiling face? How do you do that?
Well, it took years of practice, and I think there were a lot of things that weren't non-negotiables. But one thing that I think was a non-negotiable was that I talk about things that are troublesome to me or triggers ad nauseum. Like, in order for me to work through something, I got to talk it out. So I've had very good friends, and they're very willing to listen. And then I come up with my own answers. So that was kind of my non-negotiable. Like, I can't bury it anymore because I spent plenty of time, I have too many cocktails, smoking weird things, eating way too much, and hiding underneath the emotions. So that was like round one. And then when it comes to daily stuff, it was probably only like, well, it was about maybe 10 years that I decided to leave a few things out of my diet, and that I was okay with those being a thing of my past and just choosing different things. And then about 2 years ago, I started writing morning affirmations, and I write the same ones every single day. And that makes me feel like I've got a base. Like, okay, these are my intentions. This is what I'm looking to manifest. And sometimes I'll look back like 3 years and I was like, oh, I have that now. How nice. So that's one thing. And I'm finally getting the hang of meditation, but it's been a hit or miss. And just being attentive. That's just something that I do drink plenty of water and stuff like that. But I like to talk through stuff, and I do it a lot. Any friend could tell you that.
I love that. I think it's important though that we all find our own ways. And I love that you do the affirmations. I'm curious, do you write them with your opposite hand or do you just write with your regular?
I just write with my regular hand, because then it allows my mind to sort of wander and, get into that space. But I have heard, that brushing your teeth with the other hand or doing things, it kind of opens up new portals to your neural pathways, which
Yeah.
is fun.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting how the brain works, that little bridge that connects both hemispheres. And
Hmm.
yeah, doing the opposite hand, it's harder than I thought. And I'm left-handed. So for me, I do a lot of things with my right hand because it's a right-handed world out there. And
So
so to
true.
me, I've always had a tendency to do a lot of things with my right hand anyway. But it's funny to me how difficult it is for most right-handed people because, well, I guess they don't have to do what I have to do. So of course it would be harder.
Yeah,
I
I
never
mean, I've
thought about
learned how to work my left hand when it comes to tying my shoes. So, but I learned to tie my shoes a long time ago. So,
it. Exactly. Oh, that's interesting. I had a grandma. I loved her. She made me learn how to write with my right hand just in case I lost a finger because her dad lost a finger. And I got really good at it. I'm not so good anymore, but
thanks, Graham.
love her, miss her. She was such a sweetheart. But anyway, enough about that. Um, so, something that since this is a show about wellness, I do, and you do know about nutrition as well. Something that I love to mention, and I just want your input on this is, you know, we definitely need to drink. Most people need to drink more water than they do. Most people do. But they also don't realize that it's also in their vegetables and it's
Hmm.
also,
Hmm.
in their fruit, that sort of thing. So that adds to the water too. What are some tricks that you would give to somebody who wants to increase their water intake, but maybe, yeah, they just haven't. I hear a lot. I don't like water.
Yeah, I've met a few people that don't like water, and I like water because I feel better, when I have it. Some of the tricks that I've used myself were to make the water pretty. I'd get like a, I do like the bubbly water, but sometimes it's like on the fence. Like, is the bubbly not good for you? I'm never really quite sure. Um, having the tea, that helps too. But I'd put like a couple of frozen raspberries in the water, and then it would make it pink, which of course always is nice. Adding a straw to anything, I used to have like the cute little bendy straws, but now I've got the stainless steel kind of straws. So I enjoy that. And yeah, putting it in a pretty glass, making it little games. Um, or I used to have little pom poms that I would put in one bowl. And then every time that I had a glass of water, I would move the pom pom from one bowl to
Love
another. And
that.
it felt like super fun. Like, I like little games that are very, sort of child energy. And I was like, oh, I get to move the pom pom. So games that just make it fun, or a sticker system or anything that just feels like a reward. And then saying, oh, I actually feel, and then asking people, which is more motivating for you? The not feeling gross or not feeling as good, or feeling amazing? Because some
Yeah.
people are driven by one and some people are driven by the other. So when you feel like, oh, I feel hydrated, I feel satiated, all those things, remember that. How does that feel, when you're in that space? And when you're needing a little help drinking the water, just remember that space and you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's why.
You know what I was thinking about? I love that because I used to have this thing on my phone when I was trying to drink more water, and every time I put one, it would fill the cup up on my phone. So I was like, yes.
Oh,
Um,
it's lovely.
so same idea, but something that I was thinking about, and it never dawned on me before. But like I said, I've met a lot of people that don't like water, but we're made of mostly water. So isn't it kind of like you're saying you don't like yourself? Because that's what you're
Uh,
made of, literally.
that is, I'd never thought of that as a point to bring up, but
Either not until
it
just now.
works. Well, yay for epiphanies.
I know, right? Ta-da!
Yeah, it's like denying who you are at the core. And so
Exactly.
drink that water. I like that idea.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. On that note, we do need to go to commercial break, so we'll be
All
right
right.
back. All right. So that's Siri. I love her. She is so much fun. And before I forget, I want to say hello to everybody who's watching us live. It's always a pleasure. Helene, thank you for the wonderful comments as well. And as always, but we do, as I mentioned, have to go to commercial break. So we'll be back in just a few moments. Hey everyone, I'm back again, Julianne Meyer, the host of Own Your Wellness, and I don't want to waste any time chatting by myself. I'm going to bring back our special guest. Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, hello, hello.
It goes so quick.
It really does.
I know. It's kind of funny. I'm like, it goes fast, but it never, every time it's still surprising. I'm like, dang, we're already halfway through.
I know, and it was recently, probably in the 2020, I took a class, and I like to attach new words that make me feel or allow me to feel a better sense of being. And I was like, oh, I'm a connector. So when I'm connecting with somebody else, with myself, with the universe, with some kind of thing, it's like the flow time. It's just like time is not even relevant.
I love that. That's really cool because I actually just started really meditating on a regular basis after shooting myself for so long. I tried a bunch of different things. I get going and then I'd stop. But now I notice that I'm so much more in that flow after I meditate, which is the first time ever. I think I finally gave up my resistance to it. And so that made the difference for me. So hopefully you'll get there yourself in that at some point. But yeah, I just love that flow because it's just makes life so much more fun. And you just, as my spiritual mentor would say, we're grounded. That's when we're grounded is when we're in flow. So just love that. I just thought that was a brilliant thing to say. So what do you do or recommend for people, including yourself, just to stay moving and connected with people during COVID? I'm not sure where you are, but in California, everything's still pretty. I mean, they just opened up some stuff this week, but it's been pretty shut down. And, I mean, it's like the big elephant in the room. How do you stay connected? How do you keep up with movement, that kind of thing?
Well, I'm in the Midwest in Minnesota. I have a friend in California, so I'm kind of like up with what the thing is there, and we talk pretty regularly. And I Well, one, despite my personality, I think I'm an introvert. I actually really regenerate by being in a safe, alone space. And even with my husband, like we are able to be in our own place and sort of be with ourselves, but together, having that little tiny crossover. Um, so I do enjoy my own company. So I feel rejuvenated there. But I really do enjoy plenty of Zoom calls. I've made it a new deal in this year to have like a one-on-one once a week with anybody that I feel like, whether it's a relative or having that. I do, my husband and I own some deli restaurants. And so I'm out, delivering things and connecting with people that way and chit chatting when I'm at the register and, with the employees. And so I have that social interaction, which I really enjoy as well. And my husband, we spend time together, and then just my friends. We've got our little productivity pods and like, let's to get together on Tuesdays and work on our taxes. And then we just chit chat. And um, so I'm fairly social in connecting with people and just making it a priority because I know how important it is right now. It's always important, but it's particularly important right now. My mom lives very close, and we were going on social distance walks, and now I'm able to be in her apartment, even though we're apart. We're still in the same apartment, and I'm able to just help her out a little bit.
Oh, I love that. It's kind of funny because I didn't realize how much of an introvert I was until COVID because I am perfectly fine not talking to people for days on end.
Mhm.
I didn't realize because I always thought I was very social in all of this, but turns out I'm okay. It's really bizarre. So I've made more of an effort now just to like stay connected with people that are outside of my circle because I don't want to be a hermit. And I don't know. I think I am actually happier, but like you, I need to regenerate and rejuvenate myself in my alone time. And I love to go in nature. So that's kind of like where I go. I'm just like, oh,
Mm,
I've got the beach right down the street. I've got mountains right there. I've got a botanical garden right up the, like walking distance. So it's
sweet.
pretty cool. Yeah. So, do you do or recommend any sort of exercise for people, or is it kind of like, because I know what I do, it's like I want them to figure out what works for them, but is there anything that you recommend?
I recommend whatever makes them feel like moving and that they actually enjoy. If they're like, oh, I hate doing this, I was like, well, what might you enjoy more? I went to a class once with a friend, and I was like, I hate every minute of this. She's like, well, then don't come. And I was like, you're absolutely right. And there's some things that I like and some things that I don't, and that's okay because it's own your wellness. So I know
Yep.
what feels good. I enjoy walking. I gave up the gym membership, but I enjoy the elliptical. I like lifting weights. That just feels really good to me. I tend to not love classes, but some people really enjoy that group classes or doing things online. I like stretching, and I like just like feeling strong and moving. I do like walking. It's probably been my favorite for all of time.
Mine too, actually. So I could definitely relate to that. I love it's always, I mean, I always would walk extra. I mean, we're talking 10, 15 miles a day at some points in my life when I had the time to.
Yeah. I
I
do
just
like trying something new every once in a while. I do have some rollerblades, and it's been a while. And recently, sometime last year, I was like, because I do know how to ride a unicycle, and I was like, I just want to see if I really still know how. And so we went to the store, and I rode around the store and outside, and that was kind of fun. I was like, oh, this is a lot of work and exercise. That feels like weird. Or there was something else. Oh, I went to a hula hoop thing. It was like a group thing. And I was like, wow, this is serious good exercise. So I think, it would be enjoyable, once a month, be like, let's do something different because I might find that I like it. Or tennis. My husband playing horseshoe. So we were trying to do different things this year.
I
But
love that. Keep it interesting, right? Because I think too,
yeah.
we as humans get stuck in routines a little bit and like this works for me, this doesn't. And then especially when, COVID hit, all of a sudden most of our day-to-day lives changed, and now all of a sudden we had to find a new day-to-day life. So
Yeah.
I've, really gotten into trying different and new things myself. So I really appreciate that comment, because I think people forget, that it's okay. Like my boyfriend and I went and flew a kite not that long ago. That's actually quite a bit of exercise. If you got to run for that thing, man, woo.
Oh yeah, and like, yep, frisbee. I was like, you get
Yep.
better at frisbee because then you don't have to go and
Grab it and
pick
catch
up the
it.
one that you tossed off to some other universe. Yeah, yep.
Exactly.
The ride is nice.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I like that. And the other one that we've
Mhm.
been trying lately is pickleball.
Oh, I've heard of pickleball, and I've heard that like people that would play it be like, yeah, you got to get a slot because like all the slots go away. Like it's super popular, but I
Yeah,
don't
it's
even know what it is.
it's very cutthroat, at least around here. It's like a mini version of tennis. It's like tennis plus ping pong, like a combination of the two.
Oh,
Like it's about a quarter the size of a tennis court, and you use a wiffle ball and a racket that's, like a really big ping pong racket, basically, and you just play. It's so much fun. So you get some exercise in, but it's fun to play. So, if you get like some people going, we tend to go every Sunday. So I got a little group of people that,
nice. Yeah, I've never
yeah,
played, but so
yeah,
I'll put that on my list of something fun to do.
exactly. So, you mentioned something about being childlike and, like with the pom poms. And I'm just curious what other kind of things that you like to do to keep that youthful, nature and soul about yourself.
Um, well, I did just get my hair cut, but I made sure that it was still long enough so that they have my little ponytails. They look kind of stumpy right now, but I always enjoy those. I think I used to wear way more colorful clothes, but this one, for example, has like a really long hood. Like
Oh, I love that.
that just amuses me greatly. Um, fun things like this just makes me feel happy because I just enjoy the colors. There's the new mouse pad, the Smiling Wellness mascot. I think there's just little things around that are just bright and colorful. But I think, when it comes to childlike energy, coming at life through curious eyes of something being brand new. Because I think time passes faster because it's like, oh, been there, done that, been around the
Yeah.
block. But when time goes really slow is when there's something brand new that is enticing and interesting and maybe even scary. And looking at it through curious and excited eyes, even if it's like terror mixed with excitement, you're like, I don't know which one it is, but it's new. And so trying to be in that space of curiosity and just buoyant and connecting, and finding yourself like dancing to the, I think it used to be called music, but like dancing to the music in the grocery store, doing a little jig, kids like dance around just freely. And
Yeah.
so giving yourself permission to be free from the constraints of being an adult, or whatever that perception is.
No,
That's what
I
I
love
think.
that, because it's so much more fun when you might have to grow up, but you don't have to grow old. You
That's
can
right.
still be. I love that. So I would love for you to explain a little bit about your coaching and what you do, how you help people.
Well, when I first started working with people, I came through the health coach door, and it was sort of a program, if you will. That's what was set up. And then I realized I really preferred just open ended, whatever was coming up. And I prefer one on one. I think there will be some day that I will do a group education in some way, shape, or form, or probably would host a forum of just sharing and connecting and just facilitating that. Um, but I really just enjoy that one on one coaching and having a conversation with somebody, say, hey, come over and chat with me for 45 minutes. Just tell me what's going on in life. And I finally realized that my sort of, I'm going to say specialty, but it's that mental clutter of just all of those thoughts that are in the head, and just getting them out, sharing them with someone else, so that together we work as a team to take out the stuff that maybe can go to the wayside, or in the trash, and then put the other pieces that are there and prioritize them and say, oh, I see what is really of value to me. Now I can see it because they're all out on the table. They're all out. And just saying, great, so what's the most important piece? And why is that important? And when you are getting that next piece in place, how is that going to feel? And when you feel like that, what's that going to open up for you? And what experiences are you going to have in life because that one piece is in place a little bit more, or you're letting go of some of the junk? And the conversations can be about money, it can be about relationships, it can be about food, that relationship to sugar. The epiphanies that people have are as unique as the people that I connect with. And so it's talking. It's not a specific thing that comes up, just whatever questions come to mind, or insights that I see, or stories that I have from my life that may be pertinent to make a point, or them to go, oh, you know what, that's a good story that reminds me of. And one thing that people say, it's just so great to have someone that is listening and that helps reflect back to me the words that I'm saying, and the sort of patterns and habitual ways of talking or seeing life, and deciding if that's really working for me. So it's sorting and culling, and then deciding what the next steps are.
So you're kind of like Marie Kondo for the mind.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I do it for myself all the time. And I've heard that people tend to coach in areas that they may have needed the help with themselves. And because I've had very good friends along the way, or a mother that would listen to me, I was good at sorting things out. But not everybody has someone in their life. And everybody's on a different journey. So yeah, I just like sorting through the stuff that is just chatter.
Exactly. And it's just clogging up all the neural pathways.
Yeah. It's like sweeping.
Yep, exactly. You want to get
Yeah.
rid of the junk.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that. And I really appreciate that you don't try and put everybody in the same box, because, I mean, who really, really wants to be considered like one of a million? Like, you want to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard. That's number one. So I have to tell you, Helene made a comment. She's like, at
They
first
are
I was like,
talking.
is that like
They are very, very talkative. Yes, they are.
I love that. So this is how people can reach you, correct? For your website?
Yep, it's easy breezy.
Perfect.
They can just go on there and schedule a session. And I think somewhere on there, there's actually an email, but my email is super easy. It's Siri@smilingwellness.com.
I like it.
So
Yep.
that's super easy breezy. And just be like, hey, listen to you, saw you, just wanted to connect, and for whatever the reason may be. And
Yeah.
and then I'm like, hi, fellow human, what's up?
I love that. You definitely are a connector. I can see that in just the way that you speak. I love it. So I'm curious too about since we're talking about, like, I keep on touching on it anyway, about having fun and being childlike and that sort of thing. And you talked about trying new things. Um, do you find that people have a resistance to that? Because I've noticed that a little bit with some of my clients. But if I can actually convince them to do it, I mean, how would you talk to somebody and say, just give it a try? Because most people will be like, yeah, later. And later's the first step to never. So,
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Later's the first step to never.
yeah.
Yeah. Golly, that is a very good question. I think if someone were to say, I don't want to do that, or later, or there's something that they've indicated that they want to try new things, asking if you didn't do that thing, and 30 years from now, you're like, oh, I wish I would have done that thing. Are you going to feel bad? Are you going to remember that you didn't do that thing? Are you going to experience regret?
Yeah.
Or if you imagine yourself doing that thing, what are you afraid of? What what are you afraid might happen? That you'll actually have fun and experience joy and be like, "Oh my gosh, I really love this,"
Uh-huh.
you know? And or are you afraid you may not be good at it? Well, welcome to the world of trying new things. And some people just they want to feel safe or protected or in control. Everybody's got their own thing that goes on. Um, or what if you did it and you don't even tell anybody, you just do it, and what's the harm? So, it's that same thing that I do before, like, how are you going to feel if you don't do it? How are you going to feel if you do it? Which one's a bigger draw for you? And not doing things that you think you should do, it's the wanting to do, and the difference between being pushed from behind because people are like, try new things, and
Yeah.
or being pulled forward to what
By
you're being
something.
called to. Desires that you have, I think, are indications of the laying the path ahead of you. You're like, oh, I want to do this, and you don't have to know how. You just like take a next step. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to become a coach. Like, I'd never done that. I had my first coaching sessions and I was palpitating with anxiety. I was sweating. I didn't know what I was doing because I'd never done it before.
Exactly. No, that's interesting. Something that you said that I think is very worth mentioning is, are you afraid of really enjoying it? Or are you afraid of joy? Now, I work in addiction recovery, and
Mm.
a lot of people don't realize that that's a really big stopping point for a lot of people because, especially if you deal with somebody with addiction, a lot of times when they go out and use again, it's when things are perfect and fabulous and things couldn't be better. And it's almost like they can't handle that. And so they, ruin it for themselves because they're not used to being that happy. And so it feels
Mm.
uncomfortable. So they feel safer being less happy. It's kind of interesting because I think that a lot of people do that, myself included. I have in the past, have definitely pumped the brakes on things that make me really genuinely happy. And I'm like, wait, now I'm to the point I'm like, whoa, okay, girl, you need to stop with that craziness. But I think it's really important to mention that people actually do have a resistance sometimes to that kind of joy.
Yeah, and the different reasons why people have the resistance to joy are as different as the people. One person may be resistant to joy because they fear if they're having too much fun in life, they're not going to get enough done. Somebody else may like, if I'm enjoying myself too much, I might just go wild crazy. And or what will people think of me that I'm just having too much fun in life? They'll think I'm not serious or they won't take me seriously. Um, I mean, I had about four other reasons, but I can't remember any of them right now.
But there are reasons is the point. It's kind of fabulous
Yeah.
that, and it's not usually very complicated. It's usually something very simple and it's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
really? Oh.
Yeah, or like you can go out and play when you get your work done.
Uh-huh. And that's another, like paradigm that people have, or like they don't deserve it because,
Yeah.
for
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
reason,
Not
it's
deserving.
interesting. Yeah, and it's obviously it's not like you sit there and think, well, I don't deserve to be happy. I mean, some people might, but I don't think that that's a normal thing. It's just kind of subconscious, and then all of a sudden you're wondering why your life looks exactly the same as it did yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, and I've had conversations where it's like I will get to do the things that I want to do that are fun when I'm done doing the work or the things that I should do. And then, like you said, it's the first step to never.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
because
But
for fear it's going to take over, the fun's going to take over, and you won't get the things done that you
well,
quote need to do. But don't
that's
you need to
kind
have
of
fun?
yeah, exactly. What's the point of living if you're not going to have any fun?
I agree.
Um, no, for me, it was like my parents. They're very responsible adults. And,
Mhm.
it's always business first, party afterwards. Not that they party, but the point though is that they couldn't come and visit me in California because of obligations with the animals that they had, which I totally understood and everything else. And then they were going to put it off for whatever reason, I can't remember, but they ended up coming down to visit me, thank goodness, because if they had put it off again, then COVID hit and they still wouldn't be here. So I'm just so grateful though that they took that opportunity to like take the bull by the horns and just let's go visit our daughter.
Yeah.
um,
Woohoo.
yeah, but we are running out of time, and I just want to make sure, is there anything that you would love to share with the audience? Any words of wisdom? Any final thoughts?
I heard an expression once, I think it's been spoken before by other people, that we are always so much more than what we think we are or who we think we are. And that if we allow ourselves to experience all of our gifts and share them, that's the biggest gift that you can give to the world, is to be yourself and to share freely your heart and your gifts, even if you're feeling afraid to share them, because you're the only one that has them. And
Snowflake.
that I want, yeah, exactly. I want to experience other people's awesomeness. And it feels good to step into a place of empowerment and be more relaxed with just being the best version of yourself, and that it takes practice just like anything else. It feels lovely to be true to oneself.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a really, really good point because, I just think about my own experiences with people, and I want to be around people who are who they are, and take it or leave it. That's just who they are. And they're, living their best life, and, like growth minded, of course, because otherwise I can't relate, but at all. But I mean, it could be somebody completely different from me. But if they are just like really who they are and living their best life, then that is inspiring. Who doesn't want to be around that?
Yeah, yep, I agree. Those are the people I want to be around as well. And there might be other people that don't have that, and I want to say, okay, this is who you are, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
And we might not spend as much time together, and that's okay too. But to know that and respect them for who they are, where they are in their journey, and to be as encompassing as I am able with all kinds of people that are in my sphere, and then step out every once in a while and meet people that are outside my normal sphere, because I just think humans are interesting, and
absolutely.
some we connect with and some not so much, and that's okay because there's plenty of us to go around.
So, something I have you heard, I don't know what you would call it, but it's on Hulu, and it's called In and of Itself.
No, I haven't.
I had the honor and the privilege of watching it the other day, and it's basically like a play that's been recorded for Hulu, and it's a show. It was a live show that was recorded as well. And he did it multiple times, it's just a movie. And it's not a movie though. It's like I said, it's like theater on TV, basically.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely fascinating and eye-opening and fabulous. And I'm not huge into magic or anything like that, but he does some magic tricks in there. But he basically talks about how to be yourself. And I don't want to give anything away, but if you have the opportunity, I'm recommending this to the audience as well, because it was really well done. And it's not a movie, but it's definitely something that was so fabulous and worth watching. Like, it was cool to see. It was definitely what you were talking about too. So
Oh, I like it. And when somebody says something in a new medium that allows you to hear it in a different way, it, like I said,
exactly.
opens up a new portal, and you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Thank you for that perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just cool to watch too. So definitely not something, not a huge TV watcher. So it was brought to me, thank goodness. So Anyway, I just thought that was pretty cool. But anyway,
Yay.
yes. So we are out of time. Dun, dun, dun. That was so quick. But Siri, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. And hopefully we'll be able to stay in touch and have you back on the show again.
Yes, it was honestly my pleasure. And I'm so delighted that you invited me. So thank you so much for being you and doing what you do in the world.
Thank you. Love her. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, joy in a bottle, happiness in a bottle, smile in a bottle, or I mean, a human. What am I talking about? She's a human. But yes, that's it for today. I just wanted to say thank you again for everybody who has been watching live. And until next time, we will see you actually on Thursday.